In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, but darkness covered the abyss. So God ordered,
"Let there be light."
And the shadows fled away and the light sprang out. For 5 days God continued his work. He gathered together the waters of the earth and called them seas. He set the sun and the moon and the multitude of the stars shining in the skies. He created living things on the earth and in the waters and in the air. And on the 6th day, he said,
"Let us make man in our image. He will rule over everything that swims or creeps or flies or walks."
And God created the first human beings, who were called Adam and Eve. When the 7th day came, God rested. And this day was henceforward devoted to prayer and rest. After having placed Adam and Eve in a marvelous garden, in the middle of which stood the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, God gave them this warning.
"You may eat the fruit of all the trees in this garden, except that of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The day you eat of the fruit of that tree, you will die."
Now the serpent was the most cunning of the animals that God had created, and he tempted Eve with these words,
"If you eat this fruit, you will not die. On the contrary, you will be able to distinguish good from evil, and you will become the equals of God."
So Eve ate the forbidden fruit and made Adam taste it. Then the voice of God was heard.
"You have disobeyed me. You will be driven out of this garden, and you will earn your bread in the sweat of your face till you return to earth. For I took you out of the earth, and to the earth you will return."
The first children of Adam and Eve were Cain the plowman and Abel the shepherd. Cain offered to God produce from his field. Abel sacrificed the firstborn lambs, and this offering pleased God more. So, jealous of his brother, Cain attacked Abel and killed him. But God asked Cain,
"Cain, where is your brother Abel?"
"I don't know. Am I his keeper?"
"Your brother's blood is crying out to me. You are cursed. I shall drive you from the land which has received your brother's blood."
Cain went to a land to the east of Eden, where he met his wife. He had many children and grandchildren, but they were wicked and corrupt, which distressed God. Now there was a good, honest man called Noah. God called him and said to him,
"Build an ark of wood, and go into it with your family, and a male and female of all the animals. For the people I have created here have filled the earth with their crimes, and I have decided to destroy them all."
When the ark was ready, God sent a flood which covered even the highest mountains. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and the ark floated for many months until the waters went down, and the ark came to rest on Mount Ararat. When Noah came out onto dry ground with his family, God blessed him and said,
"I shall never send a flood to lay the earth waste again. But whoever sheds the blood of man will have his blood shed by man. I am going to set up an alliance with you and your children and your children's children forever. this is the sign of our alliance.
Looking up, Noah and his family saw a huge rainbow thrown like a bridge between the earth and the sky. Noah's sons and their descendants after them all spoke the same language. One day they came together in a plain in the country of Sinai and said,
Let's build a town!
In the town we shall build a tower
Which will reach right up into the heavens!
To punish them for their pride, God spread confusion in their language, and it was for that reason that men no longer spoke the same language and scattered over the whole face of the earth. About that time, there lived at Ur in the Chaldees a man 75 years old. His name was Abraham. And God said to him,
Abraham, leave your house and go to the country that I will show to you. You will be the father of a great nation. I will make your name glorious. I will give you a great number of descendants, and all the families of the earth will be blessed in you.
Abraham settled in the land of Canaan, and the voice of the Lord came down to him.
Raise your eyes, Abraham, and look around you. All the country that you see, I give it to you and to your descendants forever.
Abraham thanked the Lord and went to the plain of Mamre in Hebron, where he raised an altar to the glory of God. Later, Abraham had a son whom he called Isaac. He loved him very dearly, but one day God wanted to test Abraham's faith and said to him,
Abraham, take your son, Isaac, into the land of Moriah and offer him up as a burnt sacrifice on a mountain I will tell you of.
After 3 days' journey, Abraham and Isaac reached the mountain. Abraham made an altar, put Isaac on it, and was just about to kill him when the voice of the angel of the Lord came from the skies, saying,
Do not touch your son, for I know now that you fear God.
Raising his eyes to thank the Lord, Abraham caught sight of a ram whose horns had got caught in a thicket. So he took the ram and offered it as a burnt sacrifice in place of his son. When Abraham died, God blessed Isaac and gave him twin sons, Jacob and Esau. Esau was the firstborn, and he was very hairy. When he was older, he became a very skillful huntsman, whereas Jacob, who was much quieter by nature, preferred to stay in the tent beside his mother. One evening when Jacob was preparing a dish of lentils, Esau came back from hunting, worn out. He said to Jacob,
I am exhausted and hungry. Give me the lentils.
I will give them to you if you will give me your birthright.
If I don't eat, I shall die. Of what use to me is my birthright?
Swear the oath that I demand.
Esau swore, and that was how he exchanged his birthright for a dish of lentils. Isaac had become very old and almost blind. He wanted to bless Esau before dying, but Rebekah, his wife, wanted him to bless Jacob, whom she loved more. She made Jacob wear a goat skin so that Isaac would take him for his brother and give him his blessing. When Esau found out the trick that had been played, he went into a violent rage and decided to kill Jacob as soon as their father had died. So Jacob fled to Haran, where an uncle of his mother's lived. On his way, he had to go through a very deserted place, and he lay down there to sleep. In a dream, he saw a ladder stretching from the earth to heaven, and angels were walking up and down this ladder. At the top, there stood the Almighty, and he said,
I am the Lord, the God of Abraham and of your father Isaac. The ground on which you are lying, I give to you and to your descendants. I am with you. I will watch over you wherever you may go, and I will bring you back to this country.
When Jacob woke up, he was very frightened and said to himself,
This place is certainly the door to God's house. If the Lord watches over me on my journey, I will raise an altar to him on this very spot.
After a long journey, Jacob came to the land of Haran, where he married Rachel. Many years later, he took his wife and his children to the land where he had been born. One night, when he'd strayed a little from the caravan, a stranger forced him to fight with him. The struggle lasted until dawn. When the stranger realized he could not overcome him, he put Jacob's hip out of joint and said to him,
Let me go, for dawn is breaking.
I will not let you go, for you have not blessed me.
Your name is Jacob. From now on you will be called Israel, which means strength of God. For you have struggled with God and men, and you have won.
He blessed him. And Jacob said to himself,
I have seen God face to face, and I am still alive.
Jacob had 12 sons, but of them all, he loved Joseph best, which made the other brothers very jealous. This jealousy turned to hatred when Joseph told how, in one of his dreams, he had seen his brother's corn sheaves in a field bow down to his, as if to pay him homage. One day, the brothers went to Dothan, and when they saw Joseph coming towards them, one of them said,
Ha! Here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him and throw him into this pit.
Throw him into the pit, but let's not shed his blood.
They stripped him of his clothes and threw him into the pit. But Midianite merchants happened to be passing that way, so the brothers pulled Joseph out of the pit again and sold him to the merchants for 20 pieces of silver. Joseph was taken to Egypt, and after a while earned the favor of Pharaoh by explaining to him the meaning of some dreams which had been troubling him.
First of all, I saw 7 fat cows which were eaten by 7 thin cows. Then I saw 7 fat grains of wheat swallowed up by 7 thin grains of wheat, scorched by the wind. Can you explain these dreams to me?
Your dreams mean that there will be 7 years of plenty in the land of Egypt, followed by 7 years of famine. All the produce of the good years should be stored, so that during the 7 bad years the people shall not suffer famine.
Joseph's wisdom amazed Pharaoh, and he made him prime minister. However, when the 7 years of plenty had passed by, famine reigned everywhere, and people came from all the neighboring countries to seek corn in Egypt. One day, Joseph's brothers arrived, wishing to buy corn. They were told to go and ask the prime minister. Joseph pretended not to recognize his brothers, and they bowed down very humbly before him. And that was how Joseph's dream about the sheaves of corn became a reality. Joseph's children, his brothers' children, and their descendants lived in Egypt, and they became so numerous that they began nearly to fill the entire country. The new Pharaoh, who had not known Joseph, kept them all in slavery, and fearing that their numbers might grow even further, he ordered,
Let every male child born to the Hebrews be put to the sword.
A woman descended from Levi had a 3-month-old son. Wanting to save him from being killed, she put him in a little basket made from bulrushes and then hid the baby amongst the reeds at the edge of the river Nile. Pharaoh's daughter found the baby and she adopted him, giving him the name of Moses, which means saved from the waters. Moses grew up in his adopted mother's palace, but he often used to visit people of his own race. One day he killed an Egyptian that he found ill-treating a Hebrew slave. On another occasion, he came across two Hebrews quarreling. He said to the one who was in the wrong,
"Why are you hitting your friend?"
Who set you up as judge over us? Are you going to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?
Moses was frightened by these words, for they showed that what he had done was common knowledge. And fearing Pharaoh's anger, he fled into the country of Midian. While he was sitting near a well, the 7 daughters of the priest of Midian came to draw water for their flocks, but the shepherds drove them away. At this, Moses intervened and helped the girls and made sure that their flocks had water. When they got back home, their father, the priest, asked them,
"How is it that you are back so soon today?"
"An Egyptian saved us from the shepherds. Then he drew water for us and gave it to our flock."
"Who is this Egyptian? Why didn't you ask him to come with you? Tell him to come and take some food with us."
Moses stayed with the priest of Midian, and he married his daughter Zipporah, who gave him a son named Gershon. A long time afterwards, the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel begged God to free them from the yoke of slavery. God heard them and chose Moses as the man to deliver them from the Egyptians. One day, when Moses was pasturing his flock on Mount Horeb, he saw a bush which was burning without being consumed by the flames. As he came closer, he heard the voice of God.
Moses, Moses,
Here I am.
I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham. I have seen the distress of my people, oppressed as they are by the Egyptians, and I have come down to deliver them. Go to the house of Pharaoh, take the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, and lead them into Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey.
I will go to my brothers. But if they ask me who has sent me, what shall I say?
I am that I am. Say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you.
Accompanied by his brother Aaron, Moses went to Pharaoh and said to him,
"In the name of the God of Israel, let our people go out of the land of Egypt."
"I do not know your God, and I will not let Israel go."
And so, upon the orders of the Almighty, Moses struck Egypt with 10 plagues. With his rod he touched the waters of the Nile, and straightway they were turned into blood. The fishes all died, and the Egyptians began to go thirsty, for they dared not drink the poisoned water. That was the first plague. Then frogs covered the whole of the land of Egypt. They crawled and slithered everywhere as far as Pharaoh's bed itself. That was the second plague. Then the dust of the earth transformed itself into fierce winged insects whose stings pierced deep into the skin of men and beasts. That was the third plague. Then there came swarms of flies which ravaged the countryside. That was the fourth plague. Then a foul pestilence overcame all the men of Egypt and their camels. That was the fifth plague. Then the men and the animals were covered with hideous sores which made them sick and unable to move. That was the sixth plague. Then fire and hailstones struck the trees and plants of Egypt. That was the seventh plague. Then a swarm of locusts overran the land, devouring everything that had been spared by the fire and hailstones. That was the eighth plague. Then for 3 days, the whole country was covered in pitch darkness. The darkness was so thick that it could be touched with the hand, and all were in fear and trembling. That was the 9th plague. Then came the 10th plague. This was the most terrible of all, for every firstborn child amongst the Egyptians, from the children of the servants to the son of Pharaoh himself, died, and the wailing and lamentation that followed was the greatest that had ever been heard. Stricken with fear, Pharaoh freed the children of Israel. They numbered 600,000, and Moses led them away. But soon, Pharaoh's heart began to harden as he thought of the loss of so many slaves. And he said,
"Why did we allow the children of Israel to go, thus losing their services?"
Pharaoh gave orders for all his chariots to be got ready, and at the head of his army he went in pursuit of the Israelites. He caught up with them at Pi-Hahiroth on the shores of the Red Sea. The Hebrews began to lament the fate that they thought was in store for them. Thereupon, Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the waves parted, allowing the children of Israel to cross over. Pharaoh and his army tried to follow them, but the waves closed in upon them, swallowing up the whole army, and not a man was safe. For 40 years, the children of Israel strayed in the desert, feeding on the manna that God had sent down to them from heaven. One morning, there was a sound of thunder, and lightning flashed from the summit of Mount Sinai. Moses realized that God wanted to speak to him. So he climbed the sacred mountain and heard the voice of the Lord, from whom he received the 10 Commandments. Seeing that Moses was a long time in coming down, the people said to Aaron,
"Make us an idol that we can carry in front of us, for we do not know what has happened to Moses."
And Aaron replied,
"Take off the golden rings that hang from your ears and bring them to me."
With this gold, the children of Israel made a calf, and they aroused God's anger by offering burnt sacrifices to the idol. When Moses came down from the mountain, he found the people dancing round the golden calf. Moses smashed the calf, and 3,000 of the idol worshippers were slain. Having thus appeased his anger, Moses constructed the Ark of the Covenant, and the tables of the law were put into it. The Hebrews began their journey to the land of Canaan again. And one day, when they were short of water, God ordered,
"Moses, strike the rock with your rod, and water will spring forth from it."
Moses hesitated. So God said to him,
"To punish you for your lack of faith, you will see the promised land, but you will never enter into it."
At last, the people of Israel reached the banks of the Jordan. For a long time, Moses gazed at the land of Canaan, but as he was never to be allowed to enter into it, he went up into the mountain and died soon afterwards. God had chosen Joshua to succeed Moses, and he said to Joshua,
"Take my people across the Jordan, for it is you who will put them into possession of the land that I promised their fathers to give them."
They crossed the river Jordan and camped at Galgala, near Jericho. The inhabitants of Jericho were terrified when they heard that God had given the land of Canaan to the Israelites, and they barricaded the gates of the city and fortified the walls. Then God said to Joshua,
"Tell the sons of Israel to walk round the city of Jericho for 6 days, carrying the Ark of the Covenant with them. On the 7th day, the priests will blow the trumpets, the people will give a great shout, and the walls of the city will fall down."
And thus it was. The Israelites took Jericho and a great number of other towns. But when Joshua had died, they forgot God's law once again and fell under the influence of the Philistines. Then, in their distress, they implored God's mercy. But God replied,
"When you cried out to me, I delivered you from your enemies. But now that you have abandoned me to serve other gods, I will save you no longer."
Then the Lord abandoned them, and for 40 years the Israelites labored under the yoke of the Philistines. Then the angel of the Lord appeared to the wife of Manoah and said to her,
You will conceive a son. The hair of his head must never be cut, for he is consecrated to God. And it is he that will begin to deliver Israel from the hands of the Philistines.
Manoah's son was given the name of Samson. His strength was such that no man could equal it. One day, when he was going to Timnath with his parents, he met a lion which came at him, roaring. Seized with the Spirit of the Lord, Samson took hold of the lion and tore it to pieces with his hands as if it had been a little goat. Samson married the daughter of a Philistine, and one evening, surprised at not finding his wife at home, Samson said to his father-in-law,
Where is my wife?
I have given her to your friend. Her sister is much more beautiful. Take her in place of the other.
In a great rage, Samson replied,
This time, if I do harm to the Philistines, they will not be able to reproach me.
He caught 300 foxes, tied them in pairs by their tails, fixed burning torches between them all, and loosed them in the fields of the Philistines. Thus all their corn was burnt. Fearing the vengeance of their persecutors, the Israelites bound Samson with ropes and delivered him to his enemies. But Samson broke the bonds, took the jawbone of an ass, and killed 1,000 Philistines. The others swore to kill him. One day, when Samson was in Gaza, a spy came to the Philistines, saying,
Samson has come into our city. Let us close the gates and arrange ambushes. When the sun comes up, we'll kill this man.
But Samson learnt of their plan. He got up in the middle of the night, broke off the gates of the city, and took them up to the top of the neighboring mountain. Sometime afterwards, a woman of Sorek, whose name was Delilah, and who was very beautiful, seduced Samson by her charm. The Philistines went to Delilah and said,
Find out from Samson what is the secret of his great strength, so that we can take him. If you can find out this secret, every one of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver.
I will deliver Samson to you, and I shall be rich.
Samson allowed himself to be enticed by Delilah's honeyed words, and he revealed his secret to her.
My hair has never been cut, for if it were to be cut, all my strength would go.
When Samson was asleep, Delilah cut off his hair and then sent for the Philistines, who immediately sent soldiers who took Samson, burnt out his eyes, and bound him with chains. Then he was made to turn the mill wheel in the prison day after day. But gradually, his hair grew again. One day, the Philistines offered a great sacrifice to their god to celebrate Samson's capture. And whilst all the rejoicing was going on, one of their princes said,
Since Samson is in our power, let him be brought here. He will entertain us.
Samson was brought out of the prison and made to dance before all the people. After a time, Samson said to a young man who was leading him by the hand,
I'm tired. Let me lean against the pillars which hold the temple up.
In the temple, there were more than 3,000 Philistines watching Samson dance. Then Samson called upon the Lord.
Lord, give me strength so that I may have vengeance on the Philistines who burnt out my eyes.
God heard Samson's prayer, and Samson found all his strength again. So he pushed against the pillars, shouting out at the same time,
Let me die with the Philistines!
And he pushed with such strength that the pillars broke and the temple came crashing down with a terrible noise, killing all who were in it. Samson died with his enemies. Thus were the Philistines punished, and God granted his pardon to Samson, who had sacrificed his life to make recompense for his faults.